Hello, everyone. Welcome to another kind of like sports discussion episode. Today, what I'm going to be going over is the three teams that thus far I feel like are kind of like the biggest pretenders in the league. They're the teams that uh, at the moment would appear contenders, but I feel like in the grand scheme of things just are not going to be nearly as good as they are coming off. And the teams we're going to be discussing today are going to be. Just give me a second so I don't get completely humiliated. Never mind. One of my guys is just not going to play. Holy lag fest. Alright, just give me a second to collect my thoughts. Right, so fuck. The teams we're going to talk about are Jesus fuck, dude. You are shit. Okay, so the teams we're going to be talking about, now that I'm just not going to give a fuck anymore, are the Nets and then the two LA teams, the Lakers and Clippers. So we're going to start off with the Nets. Right now they have one of the best offenses in the history of the game, and at the very least, as far as this season's concerned, they have the best offense in the league. They have three elite level players in Durant, Harden, Kyrie, and then they are surrounded by solid group of shooters such as Joe Harris and Spencer Dinwiddie, and just overall a seemingly great group, like team. So why are they pretenders? Well, because currently they sit 25th in the league, if I'm not mistaken. At least the last time I looked into it, they were. Just give me a second to look into that. Oh, actually, it's gotten worse. Okay, so they have the 26th ranked defense in the league. So even though they have a very high-powered offense, their defense is literal garbage. They don't have an interior presence at all at the moment. DeAndre Jordan is well past his prime and not nearly the presence he was with the Clippers. They let Jared Allen go, and they don't really have a replacement. So, no interior presence. Two guards that, even though... Holy leg spike. Even though the two guards are okay defenders, like, they're not grade A trash. I'm not going to sit there and say that. But they definitely aren't what you would consider, like, lockdown defenders. On top of that, you've got three ball-dominant players, and even though Harden has embraced a slightly different role with Brooklyn, Steve Nash is going to be treading some very murky waters to try and make that trio work. Otherwise, he's going to be running into a similar issue that Brad Stevens has been with Boston, in that you've got way too much shot creation and not enough off-ball movement, so your offense just sits there and becomes a stagnant game of your turn versus your turn, my turn, and ultimately that just does not create successful basketball. So I understand that they have the second best record in the East. I understand that they have the best offense in the league. And for some people, they would look at that and go, okay, well, top-rated offense, 3 superstar players. What could possibly go wrong? And unfortunately, I think that lack of an interior presence, coupled with the fact that they're all shot creators, that even though they might be willing to give up the ball for some possessions to let the others shine, most of them are not like off ball. Like Durant's really the only one that's ever, for an extended period of time in the last 5 years, to play without the ball in his hands. And even then, he was still very prone to play isolation offense. So, not really something you want to rely on. Moving on to the Clippers now.
Like indefinitely. If you hear me on proximity.
Fucking goddamn it. So the Clippers. Some people might look at me and think, Bryce, what the fuck are you smoking? Literally last year you were talking about how they were going to win the finals. Are you just jumping on the playoff P hype train? And the answer to that is no. For one, I would like to commend both Kawhi and Paul George on being very, very close. Paul George actually currently is, but Kawhi is right there as well, to being members of the all-exclusive 50-40-90 club. Fuck off. Currently, Kawhi is shooting 51% from the field, 38% from 3, and 88% from the foul line, while Paul George is shooting 50% from, as a field goal percentage, 47% from 3 on 7 attempts, and 91% from the foul line. So both of them are playing very, very well. On top of that, the Clippers have the second best offense in the league. So how could they possibly be pretenders? Well, it's not that their offense is necessarily like Brooklyn Nets, or their defense, I mean. It's not that their defense is like Brooklyn Nets levels of bad, but let me just read off some of the players on their roster. Like, even just their starting 5, I believe, is Patrick Beverley at point guard, lockdown defender. Actually, he's kind of a 3-and-D guard almost. Hold up. So their starters for most of the year have been Ibaka, Batum, Leonard, George, and Pat Bev. Very curious why Vika Zubac or Marcus Morris isn't starting, but whatever. So anyways, even with that in mind, Ibaka actually has kind of become a solid, versatile defender, and even if he wasn't, he is an elite rim protector. Kawhi, lockdown defender. Paul George, lockdown defender. Pat Bev, lockdown defender. And even Nick Batum is a solid defensive piece. So you would think, because the Clippers' bigs this year, like last year, their big weakness was their big man rotation really only had like one rim protector to it, and that was Zubac. Once they had to bring in Harrell, Harrell was a far superior offensive weapon to Zubac, but it's not even necessarily a lack of effort, but Harrell is just not a good defensive center. It's just not. He's not. Like, it's not a lack of trying. He's just not the defensive player he needs to be, which is kind of why they let him go. But even still, they replaced him with more like really good defensive pieces, and yet this year they're actually sitting with a worse defense, as they are currently 15th in the league in defensive rating. Now, considering all of the defensive players they have, there's absolutely no reason they should be this bad on defense. Absolutely no excuse for it. That is scary. On top of that, I just don't have a lot of faith in Tyronn Lue as a coach, so I feel like they're going to kind of end up resorting back to the Doc Rivers ways, where they're relying on a lot of difficult shots to fall, which is a recipe for disaster. Even though they have some of the best difficult shot creators in terms of like their making ability in the league, you can't rely on that. And that brings me to the almighty defending champion LA Lakers. The LA Lakers, understandably so, because they had a very quick turnaround from championship to regular season, have a very, very stagnant offense. They are 17th in the league in offensive rating. And I think even though they replaced JaVale and Dwight and Danny Green and a couple other players they lost, they replaced them with quality players. Like, I'm not taking away what the Lakers did in free agency, but they replaced them with quality offensive players. And aside from Marc Gasol, which Marc Gasol is a solid defensive piece that can also shoot, which seems like something you'd want. But this team, for being as good offensively on paper as it should be, is bad offensively. Like, it is shocking. And they have one of the slower paced teams in the league, so not only is their offense not good, but it's slow, so they're giving themselves less opportunities to put the ball in the basket when they're already not good at doing it to begin with. Like, if you have a bad offense, you almost need to maximize on the possessions you can get, because every miss is going to just be that much more crucial. And even though the Lakers have the best defense in the league, I feel like their offense is just too stagnant, and slow paced, and it's going to come back and bite him in the ass. Now, I understand that Anthony Davis is out at the moment, which certainly doesn't help matters. But, like, Kuzma's a really good offensive player, and he's actually getting a bigger role this year. Harrell, like I said earlier with the Clippers, solid offensive piece, just he's 6'7" at the center position. And unless you're PJ Tucker, who even then isn't the most ideal center in the league, you're not going to be good being that small playing center, even in today's NBA. Dennis Schroeder, solid offensive piece, was a Sixth Man of the Year candidate last year. Wesley Matthews, solid three-point shooter that came over from Milwaukee. Alex Caruso was a good offensive piece last year, and even a solid defensive piece. But, like, even though they don't have big-name players aside from LeBron and Davis, they have really good offensive weapons. And yet they have the 17th best offense in the league. That is shocking. And I don't think the Lakers this year, I think it's Anthony Davis. But if they continue to try and run this offense through LeBron, it is going to fail. Because I think, even though he is still incredible, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's incredible for his age. It's not like 36-year-old LeBron is still best player in the league material. And I don't care if that pisses people off. I'm not in the business to try and tell people what they want to hear. LeBron at 36 years old is not the best fucking player in the league. Even last year, he was not the best fucking player in the league. Yes, he was very damn good, and he's still a top 5 player in the league. But he is not, at 36 years old, the best player in the league. And that's why it annoys me so fucking much that he is getting MVP considerations, because, yes, the Lakers are top 3 team out west. They're tied for second right now. Yes, LeBron is playing very, very good for his age. But age, by no means, should be a factor in who gets the MVP award. And if you are going to give the MVP award to a Laker, then it should be Anthony Davis. Because this dude is the best player on this team now. It was LeBron's team last year. That is not the case anymore. It is absolutely Anthony Davis's team. Even if you want to say, oh, the team runs through LeBron, therefore it's still LeBron's team, okay, fine, but Anthony Davis is the best player on a team run through LeBron. So, take with that however you want. I really don't care. I mean, for fuck's sakes, last night they lost to my favorite team, the Heat, and the Heat have been, and whether you want to say it's because of injuries or they're just not clicking on offense this year, or the lack of a power forward, whatever, I really don't care. The Heat have been, I'm not going to sit here and claim like other people that, oh, the Heat were frauds last year. No. They were not built for the regular season. They've never been built for the regular season. They are a playoff-based team. They literally built their team to get to the playoffs. But when you perform so fucking poor that you may not even make the playoffs, which, thank fuck they're finally starting to turn around, but that was the route they were going, then it really doesn't matter if you build a team that's meant to succeed in the playoffs, does it? If you can't even make the playoffs, what the fuck does it matter at that point? And the Lakers are so stagnant on offense that they couldn't even beat that team. And that team is even more stagnant on offense. And they're not as good of a defensive unit either. I love Miami. And Miami's a solid defensive team. But they are not even a top 10 defense this year. I think they're 11th. The Lakers have the best defense in the league. There was literally, aside from, oh, we don't have Anthony Davis, there is no excuse for them losing that game. None whatsoever. So, those are my three pretenders. Obviously, I could have threw like the Milwaukee Bucks in there, but we already kind of like people are already dealt them. That's a very popular opinion to have, to go out and say, "Oh, the Bucks are pretenders," because they've had 2 seasons now where they've been the best team in the league and one of the best offenses, one of the best defenses, and then they go and flame out in the playoffs. So I didn't want to go with something that, people already know. I wanted to be creative. So these are the 3 teams that I think are pretenders. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. I meant to have more content recorded today, but I got busy, so that is not going to happen. I will try to make up for it tomorrow. Maybe even play the Madden franchise. Maybe finish up the first season of The Walking Dead. I know that it's not exactly my most popular content. Far from it. Even for as small of a channel as I have. But I don't care. I enjoy playing it, and I'm going to continue to play it. So, tough shit. Anyways, that'll be the end of this video, and peace.